Good day, my friends. This is the Photoshop Workbench, and I'm Mark Johnson. It is a delight to have you here. Famous Italian Renaissance artist Michelangelo once said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." In other words, he saw great potential in a slab of stone and knew that with enough imagination and hard work, he could transform it into a masterpiece. As photographers wielding tools as powerful as Photoshop and Topaz Impression, we too have the ability to chisel away at our images until they reflect the vision we hope to convey. In today's tutorial, we'll begin with an ordinary photo of fall grasses, and through a variety of impressionistic techniques, transform it into an abstract beauty. I want to say thanks to Dale Nichols for submitting today's image. So let me show you the iterations here. This is his original capture. So when you look at that, you might think, wow, there's just not much there. Well, if you're looking for something that's beautifully composed with great depth and all sorts of things like that, you're right, there's not a lot we can work with. But if you can look at this and notice all of the beautiful fine details and the subtle colors in the grasses, there just might be some potential for creating something impressionistic and something beautifully abstract from this. So this is where it began. I'm just going to take you through the iterations that we're actually going to go through together and show you where we're headed. So here is the same image after editing it in Adobe Camera Raw. Then it's coming into Photoshop, and we're going to use a multiple exposure Monet technique to create something impressionistic like this. Then we are going to take it one step further in Photoshop and add a soft glow montage to give it the look that you see right here. And finally, we're going to take this into Topaz Impression and create this beautiful impasto look that you see right here. So this image has gone from here to here, and that is all through sort of using our imagination, seeing the potential, and just being clever with the techniques that we use. So we're going to get an opportunity today to explore 3 or 4 different wonderful impressionistic techniques. And we're going to start by opening up this image right here into Adobe Camera Raw. All right, since we're going the impressionistic route with this, we're not trying to create an absolutely perfect looking, just regular grass photo. So we can work very quickly in Camera Raw. First thing I want to point out that's very important for this tutorial to work is we want to click the workflow options link right down here, and we want to make sure that Open in Photoshop as Smart Objects is checked. This is going to be really important, and I'll show you why in just a moment. Now on this image, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Auto here and see what happens. And very quickly we're transformed into something that probably is a lot closer to what Dale actually saw with his eyes when he was out there, because the raw file just doesn't have the oomph. But here it is punched up a little bit with some slight changes to exposure, contrast, whites, blacks, so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and just modify these things very quickly until I get to the point where I'm really happy with this. Definitely going to punch up that contrast a lot. And then I'm going to hold Option or Alt and click here and see if I've lost any highlight detail. In other words, am I seeing any white pixels? And very few, so we're okay. I'm going to hold Option or Alt and click here. Am I seeing any black pixels? Have we lost detail in our blacks? No, we're okay there. So I don't really need to move these sliders. I do want to bring in some additional vibrance. Remember, this is impressionistic, meaning I'm not trying to create anything that represents reality. I'm trying to create something that represents my personal vision. So I'm going to go ahead and punch up the vibrance quite a bit as well. And we'll go with something like that. All right, now I'm going to pop into this tab right here, and I'm just going to quickly pull on the highlights. I'm going to leave those about where they are, and I can double click the slider and reset it to 0 or its default position. I do want to open up things a little bit there with lights. Let's look at darks. You can see I'm just moving very quickly I can double click that or press Command or Control Z and just have it reset there. And then I noticed this was shot at ISO 800, so I'm going to double click the zoom tool, go up to 100%. I can see a little bit of noise in here, not much. So I'll go ahead and just add a little bit of noise reduction, something like that. Double click the hand, go back to fitting within the window, and this is ready to come into Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and click Open Object. So it's going to open as a Smart Object layer, which means we're going to have a link right back to Adobe Camera Raw where we can make further changes while the pixels are still in their most pliable state. As we work through this project, this Smart Object is going to give us the ability to make changes to one layer, and those changes will affect all of our layers. I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a moment. Now, this image is huge, so I'm going to choose image size. You can see this is almost 8,000 pixels. That's going to take a lot of time to process right now, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to do something I would never do to a master file. I would only size down something that's a duplicate of a master that's going to be printed or shared on the web or something like that. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to make its length or its width much shorter, and I'll press OK here. Alright, now let's work with this file. So the next thing we want to do is create that multiple exposure Monet look, and to accomplish that we are going to duplicate this bottom layer. So I'm going to press Command J on the Mac, Control J on the PC, duplicate the layer, and I am going to change the blend mode from normal to lighten. Now, in order to see the changes, I need to offset this layer. And we're going to try and make this look like little tiny brush strokes. So I'm going to activate the Move tool, and using the up arrow key on my keyboard, I'm going to tap 1, 2, 3, 4 times. There's no magic number to this, by the way. It's going to be somewhere between 2 and 5 taps, probably. And now I'm going to tap the right arrow key 4 times. All right, you can already see we have something that looks kind of like paint strokes occurring here. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer with a Command or Control J, and using the down arrow key I'm going to go down 8. And I'm doing that because 4 takes me back to kind of where I started, and then I'm going 4 below that. So I'm basically going 4 in all directions here. So I'm going to duplicate this layer with Command or Control J. I'm going to go 8 to the left. And then one more duplication with Command or Control J, and then 8 up. Now look at this. Looks like you have beautiful paint strokes occurring in your image just by offsetting that layer while in lighten mode here. But as you can see, things are a little bit too bright right now. Because of stacking layer up on layer, things got too bright. Well, guess what? These are all the exact same Smart Object layer. So if I double click on any one of these thumbnails, doesn't matter, I'll double click on this top one here, it will reopen Camera Raw, and now in here I can knock back my exposure, and all Smart Object layers, because they're the same Smart Object, are going to update simultaneously. So all I have to do is make changes here in this one panel of this one dialog, and off we go. Alright, so I'm going to knock things back. Let's go ahead and knock back our exposure just a little bit. Take it to maybe here, and let's knock back our whites as well. And I'll press OK and see how that looks. So it's updating all 5 of these layers because they are the same Smart Object. Let's just take a peek. And once it updates, if I'm not happy with it, I can simply press Command or Control Z, undo it. I actually like that a lot, but if I didn't, I could press Command or Control Z, undo the change to these 5 layers, double click this, go right back in and fix things up exactly the way I want them. So we have a lot of power here with these Smart Objects in Photoshop. Alright, now what I'm going to do, actually I'm going to snapshot some things here. So I'm going to go ahead and snapshot this. I'm going into the history panel. I'm going to click on this little camera icon and snapshot. This is where we started coming out of Camera Raw. Now I'm going to switch all these layers on, and by the way, I held Option or Alt and clicked this eyeball here, and it switched on all the other layers. So now I'm going to go to History. I'm going to snapshot that. This way I'll be able to show you the iterations very quickly. So now what I'm going to do is, for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you've seen me do this a lot before. I'm going to do a soft glow montage. It still remains one of my favorite things to do in Photoshop. I love it. What can I say? It's a beautiful impressionistic technique. So we're going to apply that to this image. And that means we're going to hold Option on the Mac, Alt on the PC, and choose Layer, Merge Visible. And that's going to create a merge of these 5 layers up at the top of the stack right here. Now I want to go ahead and convert this layer to a smart object with Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to apply a blur to this. I want it to be applied non-destructively so I can change my mind. Now I'm going to go in here and change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and I'm going to blur this with Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. It's going to impart a really lovely glow. Oh gosh, that's so luscious. I hope you're getting the richness of the tones through the video, whatever video mechanism is delivering this to you. I'm going to go with something like that. It really is a matter of preference. You know, some people like less glow, some people like more. I'm going with something kind of in the middle here, like that. Just a little bit more. There we go. I'll press OK. Now again, this time around, instead of things being too bright, things look a little bit too dark to me. Not so much the highlights, but the rest of the scene, the overall exposure looks a little bit too dark for me. And so I'm going to double click any one of these thumbnails because they're all linked together, all the same smart object, and I'm going to open up the exposure just like this. And I'm even going to open up the blacks just a little bit. And you know, while I'm in here, there's something I like. These grasses are showing up, let me see if I can show you that, as sort of bluish lavender. So I'm going to accentuate that by going into this panel, HSL, Hue, Saturation, Lightness, go into the saturation area, and I'm going to take the blues and saturate them. The purples, saturate those. Aquas, saturate those. And magentas. There we go. So got those all saturated. It's saturating these colors. It looks a little bit ugly here, but I'm looking at the straight grasses. And when I press OK, I'm going to be looking at this impressionistic rendition of the grasses. So I'm really thinking just color there. Can I leak a little bit more of that beautiful lavender into here? And let's find out. It's going to update for a moment. Hopefully the scene will be overall a little brighter. You know, I feel like it's good, but maybe I'm going to double click here. Maybe I want a little too bright. And maybe I need a little more contrast and maybe a little darker black. And press OK again. And go ahead and let it update all these. So remember, this layer up here, the top one, is in multiply mode. And so we're seeing through it like a slide stacked on top of other slides on a light table. We're seeing through it to the updates that are occurring right down here. That's pretty beautiful right there. I like it. So I'm going to go into the history panel and I'm going to snapshot this moment in time. So now let me just show you this image. When it came out of Camera Raw, it looked like this. To me, it's just an ordinary scene right there. Then we gave it the Monet look by offsetting the layers, and now it looks like paint strokes. And then we added the soft glow, and now it's a softer version of those paint strokes. So it's come a long way, but let's do one more thing to this. Let's take this into Topaz Impression. So I'm going to do this, since I'm going into another plugin, and to expedite the process, I'm going to go ahead and choose Image Duplicate. And let's just take this right here. And I'm going to flatten these layers. So I'm going to choose Layer, Flatten Image. And again, this is a duplicate of my master. And I want to convert this to a smart object. So I'll choose Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. This way I can do non-destructive topaz work on it. So now I'm going to go Filter, Topaz Labs, and Topaz Impression. Now, if you're curious about impression, I have a hyperlink in the introductory text for today's workbench to Photoshop Workbench 457, which is called Impressions of Topaz Impression. It will tell you all about this wonderful software. And additionally, in my introductory text, I have a 15% discount for all Topaz products. So the link will direct you to my discounts page where you can get the code, and you can click through a link and you can get 15% off any Topaz software. Wow, look at this. Oh, this is gorgeous. I'm going to go, let me just go into all effects here for a moment. I would want to, if I were actually doing this, or actually no, let's go to featured. If I were actually doing this, I would explore a lot of these. And in fact, I did, to get to what you see right here. So that's actually where we're headed. But let's look here. Let's look at colored pencil. Look at the beauty of that. Could you imagine that hanging on your wall? It's just so stunning if you like impressionistic things. I love the play of warm and cool colors, and just the whole feel of it. But anyway, I'm going to go right into painting is a great category, impressionistic is a great category. I'm going into impressionistic, and I'm going to click on Impasto 1 because this look to me is just so beautiful. But there's something I want to change about this. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here on this magnifying tool, click until it takes me to 100% magnification, and I'm going to minimize this so it's not in the way, and I'm going to click here so I can make modifications. Now in Photoshop Workbench 457 I show you how to deal with all of these sliders right here, but right now I just want to go down to affect one of them, and that is the texture. Here we have a canvas texture. I want it to be more prominent. Let's say I'm not printing this on actual canvas paper, I'm printing it on regular paper, and I want to have a canvas look. Well, if I crank this up, look what happens. You can see this looks like an impressionistic painting on beautiful canvas. I'm going to click here so it'll fit again, and look at that. Look at the oh, I'm going to press OK. I'm going to stop gawking at it and get back to teaching for a moment. So anyway, just to show you real quickly, we went from here out of Camera Raw to here with the Monet, here with the soft glow, and then to here with the Topaz Impression. So I mean, really look at the play of warm and cool colors in that. Look at the beautiful impressionistic feel. I'm just going to move that around. This area right down here where the warm meets the cool just excites me so much. Anyway, I imagine that some of you may be wondering if we could have skipped the Monet and the soft glow. So let's see here. Let me go over here. So you might be wondering, well, gee, couldn't we have gone right from out of Adobe Camera Raw directly into Impression and gotten this? Well, the answer to this is yes, we could have gone straight from out of Camera Raw into Impression. But our results would be slightly different. If you're in a hurry, give that a shot, but your results are going to look a little bit different. And now, think of it, now that you've learned the Monet technique, the soft glow technique, and how to go into Impression, now you have 3 different impressionistic techniques in your bag for the next time you're feeling creative. So get out there, be creative, have fun, make some beautiful images, and enjoy your day. Thank you.